Wow, that's pretty amazing. I feel completely out of place, all these distinguished people. Thank you, Dr. Gibson, for that honor, and the board of directors, to all of you. I feel like a wiener in a steakhouse. Because I'm just a regular guy who has messed up a whole bunch of times and keep getting back up because I'm not smart enough to stay down. And you know, I think that's what we're going to talk about for just a few minutes here. They told me to be sure and keep this brief because apparently they use that thing on you if you're not brief. So we're gonna get to the point, but they wanted me to speak on hope today. And as I get ready to do that, I do need to say that this is a very special thing for me to get to be up here, and I'm honored to do that because my great-grandmother, who used to read to me sitting on her knee, and did so with great drama, since she started the drama department, probably has something to do with me being on stages all over America, speaking to thousands of people every week, and speaking to millions of people on the radio and on the television every week. That probably caused that, so be careful who you read to. And then, as he mentioned, my aunt, who is a graduate here. I've got another aunt that is a graduate here. Lots of our family members are associated with Maryville and Maryville College. I was born here. But I think most of all, I'm probably here, literally, because of Maryville College. You see, back in the late 50s, a young lady came from a farm up in the middle of Missouri and made her way to a little Presbyterian college called Maryville College to learn voice here. And while she was here, she met a young man that lived here in Maryville. They fell in love and got married, and that was my mother and dad. And so I'm literally here because of Maryville College. So we're honored to be with you guys today, but I do want to take just a few minutes and unpack this thing called hope a little bit. And as we speak about hope, it's not just hope it's not going to rain today. It's really this thing of hope. Hope has become a word that's been used in our culture a lot lately. It's become a political slogan. It's become things that are talked about in the middle of a recession. And as Dr. Gibson outlined beautifully a moment ago, it made it sound like it was all very calm when it all happened, that I made a lot of money and then I lost everything before I was 30. I've done stupid with zeros on the end. I know what it looks like. This is my first real PhD. My other one was in DUMB. And so I did. I made a lot of money and then I lost everything and had to start completely over. And in the process of that, I lost my hope. In the process of that, I was beat down and beat up. I was being interviewed on I had about $4 million worth of real estate, as he said, and we lost it all because I was stupid. And I was being interviewed on one of the TV shows the other day, and one of the guys said, so you started with nothing, and you became a millionaire, and then you lost everything, and then you became a multimillionaire again. How did you bounce back? And I went, dude, when you fall that far, you really don't bounce. I sat around and blamed everybody else for a little while. You ever do something stupid and blame everybody else? Turns out McDonald's does serve hot coffee. We've all done dumb things, haven't we? And so I got the privilege 20 years ago of starting over, hopeless. And I've had the privilege since then of talking to on the radio show and on the TV show and one-on-one in the counseling offices and in live events all across America. I was in Salt Lake City yesterday doing a huge event out there. And I've had the privilege of dealing with people and talking with people who've had the hope knocked out of them. And so for just a minute, I thought it might be fun. I've got college students that are my children too. And I thought it might be fun to share with you guys some of the things I've shared with them about this subject and some of the things we share with audiences around America about this subject. Proverbs 13:12 says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. When your hope is gone, you're paralyzed. When you've got hope, you can do anything. And sometimes it's just that simple. Sometimes you get knocked down so hard that the hope just rolls out of you and you can't breathe for a little while. And as I've studied hopeless people, and I've studied this idea of trying to inject hope back into their lives, I read the rest of that proverb. It says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when desire comes, it is the tree of life. And as I've studied hope, I've found 3 things that will cause you to lose your hope. We're going to touch those very briefly. And if you can avoid these 3 things that will cause you to lose your hope, you won't lose it. Because you're going to get challenged. One thing that'll cause you to lose your hope every single time is if you take your current failure And you will have current failures. Probably before you get out of the parking lot today. You will have current failures. We all have failures. We all fall down. But when you take your current failure and you say, well, that's all there is for me, and you project that into your future and you say, this is it, bad stuff is me. I think I just flunked English. When you project it that way, then you quit. And you stop. One of the leading writers right now in leadership materials in the Christian world is a good friend of mine named John Maxwell. He wrote a wonderful book called Failing Forward. Because you see, I've been blessed by traveling the world and doing all these wonderful things with these TV shows and all this stuff. I've gotten to meet a lot of very famous people, famous athletes, famous people in media, famous people in ministry, people who have grown huge businesses. And to a man, to a woman, let me tell you what they are. They're colossal failures. Every one of them have failed so many times, it's unbelievable. They just took their failures and they bundled them up and they chose to stand on them. So when you fail, and you will, bundle it up, figure out what happened, and stand on it. Because the gleaming mountain of success, young men and women, is a pile of garbage. The only question is whether you're going to be laying under it or standing on it. Henry Ford used to say, those people who never make mistakes work for those of us who do make mistakes. Be willing to fail. We'll be willing to get back up and stand on it. There's a great picture of this in The Lion King. Fabulous philosophical movie. Not a bad Broadway play either. There's a scene in The Lion King, and you guys should know it because it's your age group. I mean, we have it memorized because that's when it came out, when our kids were that age. If you don't know The Lion King, you got to memorize it. It's important stuff in there. Simba, the cub, has his rightful place. He's supposed to become the king, but his evil Uncle Scar convinces him that he has killed his father. And so Simba goes into exile and hangs out with a warthog and another funny looking little thing, which is what you do when you're in exile. And the music is playing, and we see Simba eating bugs and all these things that you do when you're in exile. And finally he grows to a young adolescent, and the witch doctor monkey should have been a pastor. But it was a witch doctor monkey shows up. Rafiki, you remember Rafiki? He says, Simba, you should go back and take your rightful place as king. He says, I can't, because you don't know about my past. And the baboon takes his staff, and he swings it and he hits him. What was that for? He says, it doesn't matter. It's in the past. Sometimes you hurt, and in the past, you will either learn from it or you will run from it, and the music changes, and Simba and his little band of misfits go back and take the kingdom back because his past failures are no longer holding him captive. His hope is returned. Don't take your current failures and project them as your future. You'll quit.